The origins of these songs had a lot to do with just moving out of Toronto and into our new home, in Stratford. And I've found, in general, whenever there's kind of upheaval like that or a change, that it's kind of a given that you know, some songs will come from that. And I just found myself, without even trying really, just walking to town every day, I'd come back with a new idea, or I was just very inspired. I was kind of in a sort of writing frenzy, which happens occasionally. I was also writing songs for this musical I'm working on too. Um, but yeah, so just something about uh, you know ending up here in this town, which is very, with trees. We're surrounded by trees and birds, and when I walk by the river to town, there's like swans, and it's just very kind of peaceful. And I never really had that in Toronto. I mean, I didn't know that I sort of needed that in a weird way. So all these songs are just the product of I think the move and just where I am in my life right now. 56 and all that. So. I always feel my music is very square, like it's very, I'm a big Bing Crosby fan. I like all that kind of stuff and that imagery, on some of these songs, it's kind of like all about domestic bliss in a weird way, it's just sort of finding ourselves in this new situation with new friends. And it's not often you get a new start in your 50s, and I feel like we've sort of got a new start here, and I think the songs reflect that. And whereas in the past, I think some of my albums they were sort of filled with regret and and melancholy and this and that. There's not really much of that on this record. It's very yeah, just upbeat, I guess is the best word I can think of. The funny thing about this record is we did all the bed tracks here in this house, which was my friend Don Kerr's idea. So for about a week, the house was turned upside down. The drums were up in this room. I was down in the other room playing piano, cables everywhere. And it was kind of like when the Stones set up in France, and did Exile on Main Street, except without all the heroin and everything like that, and all the debauchery. But it was like turning this house upside down and making it into a studio, which I didn't even know you could do that. Like I mean, I knew that people had done that, but I didn't know that you could do that here. And I was pretty amazed at how well it sounded acoustically. Don got this idea because I had sent him the demos, and they were all piano demos. And just for my own interest, I overdubbed myself playing bass on them. But I don't have a bass, so I actually use an acoustic guitar. And he was a lot more impressed with the demos than I was, and he thought, well, you should do that. You should make a record, kind of like an old McCartney record, where he plays all the instruments. And that had never occurred to me. But the only problem with that was I don't know how to play drums, and so that was the one sticking point. But thankfully he's a drummer, so we were able to do it. And it was, I kind of had a blast because I was playing a lot of instruments that I really shouldn't be touching. That I'm not a bass player. I'm not, like, and I was playing harpsichord and all these sort of things. But I think it gives this record a very specific sound that the other albums don't have, in a way, like sort of a kid in a candy store kind of sound.